All right, yo, we out here, west Oahu. I've lived on West Oahu for going on 8 years now. I lived in Waianae for 5 years now. I've been living in Makaha for about 3 years. I'm gonna talk to you guys about the pros and cons of living on West Oahu. Waianae, Makaha, Nanakuli. I haven't lived in Nanakuli, but we can lump them in. We have the same issues. I'm not making this video as an invitation for everybody to move out here. I'm just sharing about the place I live, can help you get an idea of figuring out where you want to live. And it's also a way to relate to people who live in West Oahu and go through the same things and have the same sort of benefits. So we're just going to get into it. If you don't know me, my name's Travis. Welcome in, much love. I'm a adventurer, entrepreneur. I do a bunch of things. And the first thing, I'm going to start with the positives and we'll go into the negatives. The first positive to me is West Oahu has the best weather in the world. And that matters to me because I grew up in Seattle. I lived in Seattle for almost 24 years, which has some of the worst weather in the world. So we'll talk a little bit about geography. Seattle, it's too far north. Like, okay, I'm a little bit brown, you know, I'm mixed. If you don't know, I'm Chinese and I'm European. My Chinese side, I think, is more like Southern Chinese, almost like Southeast Asian. I get a little bit of color, I get a little brown. Not getting enough sunshine in Seattle. So Seattle, if you don't know, it's a narrow, straight city, and it's between two mountain ranges. You have the Olympic and the Cascades, and the clouds sit in between the two mountain ranges. So you never see the sun. There's fewer than 100 days of sun in a year. And I'm not talking like clouds are blowing over, like the clouds sit over the city. You won't even glimpse the sun. Sometimes for 3 straight months, no glimpse of the sun. Like the clouds don't break for months. People suffer from mental illness, seasonal affective disorder. I didn't know how bad it was until I traveled and I came back and I'm like, I can't do this. It's also at a high latitude. So in the winter, the days are extremely short. Sunrise at 9 a.m., sunset, or 10 a.m., sunset at like 4. I don't know how long, 6 hours. Sun barely gets over the horizon. It's dark. West Oahu gets sunshine almost every single day of the year. I'm gonna sit in the sun here. I've been in the surf, I'm trying to warm up. West Oahu gets sunshine almost every day of the year. Again, geography. So you have the island also has 2 mountain ranges. Oahu has 2 mountain ranges. On the east, I'll just do it like this. On the east you have the Ko'olaus, on the west you have the Waianae range. They both run north to south. Typically the weather goes east to west for whatever reason. So a lot of the weather is on the windward side or the east side. The clouds sit over here and they might make it over and get into the middle of the island and clouds be in here. It's a lot for the weather to make it over to the west side, over the Ko'olau range and the Waianae range. So it's incredibly dry out here. We do get 20 inches of rain, which isn't very much, but it all happens in a couple days, usually. There'll be a couple torrential rains. And if you're in the back of the valleys, up against the mountains, you get more rain. But if you're across the coast, you get direct sunshine almost every day of the year, basically every day of the year. Probably only a couple days you don't. So for me, you know, and for some people that really matters. I really thrive in the sunshine. Life is easier. I have more energy. My mood's better. I feel good. And it's also very temperate. Despite the sunshine, it doesn't necessarily get that hot. Usually the hottest days in the summer, it might touch 90, low 90s. The coldest day of the winter, it might touch 59. But typically it's like 70s at night, 80s during the day. And in the winter time, people say, oh, there's no variety. Well, the winter time, the days are a little bit shorter and it's a little bit cooler, but we get surf, which we'll kind of come back to. But the Weather's really nice because I'm someone who has decided that I just want to live my life outside. Not everybody's like that, but for me, I'm trying to get this set up. For me, I just want to live my life outside. So I've worked in agriculture. Right now I work in adventure tourism, wildlife tourism, marine wildlife tourism. I'm outside every day for work. I'm outside every day for my hobbies. Life outside, I feel good, I'm happier. So that's the major pro to living in Waianae. That's what I love the most. Now, related to the geography, also in the weather, is we have some of the most, probably the most beautiful beaches on Oahu, and we also have the most beautiful coastline. I don't know if anyone would debate that Oahu, that West Oahu is the most beautiful coastline. So if you like ocean sports, which I do, if you like surfing, we've got great surf in the winter. Surf breaks right here. I just came out, walked there and back. If you like paddling, if you like stand-up paddleboarding, if you like free diving, if you like spearfishing, if you like boating, if you like scuba diving, probably forgetting some, but if you're just going for a swim, we've got really clean water because it's a lower population. Overall, West Oahu population is about like 40,000 less. Nanakuli's got like 12,000, Waianae maybe like 12,000, Makaha 8,000. I'm not counting Eva as West Oahu. It sort of is, but that's further. So me also as an ocean person, I mean, if you just want sunshine and ocean and you're optimizing for being healthy and in a physically healthy environment, it cannot go better than West Oahu. So that's what I love about it. We also have, check them out. I just want to show you guys how close we are. So we got the Waianae mountain range right here. There's the Waianae mountain range. You go hiking up there, and we have the ocean. So there's the ocean right here, and there's a surf break right there. Can't see surfers, they're right around the corner. That said, for the hiking, because it's so dry, typically it's not shaded at all. So it's something you do, and the sun's strong, even if it's not crazy hot, the sun's really strong. So the best hiking is probably in the other mountain range, not here. Most people cannot handle the sun. So those are some of the positives. Another positive that I'm going to share with you guys is the racial demographic. And this is a positive for me, but might not be a positive for you. So when I grew up in Seattle, I grew up as a minority. Everybody's white. It's not everybody, but it's a very white place. And I look Asian, even though I'm mixed. I don't really like being a minority. You experience racism, just not being part of the main power structure. I don't really like it. West Oahu is a place that I look like I'm from here. Not everybody looks like me. Everybody looks kind of different out here. It's highly mixed. There's a lot of Polynesians. I'm not Polynesian, but there's a lot of East Asians mixed with Europeans and Polynesians. It's not unusual to see someone with Asian eyes and blonde hair like me. Not everybody looks the same. Everybody looks kind of different, but everybody looks different, right? So, I mean, just in the surf right now, I was talking with one of the locals, Triggs, and he said, "You're lucky you look like us." And I'm like, yeah, man, I wouldn't be here otherwise. So this is why I got to give a disclaimer, right? The locals don't love when white people or haoles move here necessarily. Like, you're not going to get blatant discrimination necessarily, but they want to keep Waianae local. And for me, my mom's white. I don't have a problem with white people. I like them, but I also enjoy being in a place where people assume I'm from here. They don't ask where I'm from, right? I'm from Seattle, and people ask where I'm from if I'm in Seattle, right? I'm not from Waianae, but people don't ask where I'm from. They hear me talk, they know I'm not from here, but because I kind of sound like a West Coast Cali bro. But people kind of assume I'm from here. So that's a strong positive for me. Now let's get into some negatives. So first, going back to the geography, we have the two mountain ranges, right? The Waianae mountain range cuts West Oahu off from the North Shore, and the only way out is around the bottom of the Waianae mountain range. So we're talking 40,000 people almost, and one road out. And because of the cutoff geography, there's not a lot of economic opportunity in Waianae. There's jobs, but there aren't a lot of high-paying jobs. The jobs are like, there's car shops you could work at, be a mechanic. There's some schools, you could work in the schools. I work out of the boat harbor. You could work in the back of the valley doing agricultural work. You could work at a shop. That's about it, though. There's not a lot of tourism jobs, which is where a lot of the economic opportunity here is. It's not the hottest real estate market or for building, although there's stuff going on. There's not really any office jobs. There's no school jobs or university. There is University West of Oahu, but that's south. That's in Eva, or south of Eva even, I guess in Eva. But so what that means is a couple things. It does actually suppress the cost of living out here in terms of rent. Like the real estate's a little bit more affordable than what you would think. Like this place is probably less than you would think to own or to rent. But it's at the cost of how are you going to pay for it, right? Where are you going to work that's going to pay you decent? So a lot of people move, or the economic hub is in town, right? And everybody's trying to get through this little one road, 40,000 people. So the traffic is, and come back. If you work in town, the commute's crazy. It might be an hour with no traffic, but you're trying to funnel through, which adds a lot of time in traffic, coming and going. So a lot of people leave for that reason, or try to work different hours, or just sit in traffic, and then you don't get to enjoy the sun. You don't get to enjoy the beach. That's a common problem that people face out here is commuting to town. It sucks. So there's not really a way to. The city has no plan to fix that really. The state, and may be that way forever. So that's a huge problem. Is the economic situation and the traffic related to that, and that's one of the biggest problems, or that's something that probably everyone who lives here can relate to is, okay, what are the local jobs don't pay that well, and the higher paying jobs, the commute's crazy, so what do? Something's got to give, right? Sacrifice, you either don't make a lot of money, but for some people it's not even enough money to afford to live here, so people have to leave. So that's one of the issues. Now another issue, an issue that affects me is it's really hard. It's like a desert for dating as a young person. So I like the racial demographic of being like a very mixed place, more brown, Asian, Polynesian, right? But from an age demographic, there aren't a lot of young people, right? There's like kids and old people is almost what the demographic is. And partially it's because, I could have mentioned the school system. There's schools here. They're not considered very good schools, but there's schools here. But this isn't a university town, right? There's a university in Manoa. There is a little bit on the side technically, in campus in is UH West Oahu and Eva. I don't know what you call that, Barbers Point. But yeah, so if you're 18 and plus and you go to school, a lot of these people move to town, or they move to Vegas, or they move to mainland, or they move to Seattle, or they just they move because you want to see the world. There's not like a lot of economic opportunity. This is West Oahu's more a place you really value the nature, or you also value you're just older and you can afford it. Like you've paid your dues basically. So for me, as a 34-year-old man, the age bracket for dating for me is maybe like mid 20s to early 30s, right? Like 23, 24 to 31 is maybe like the age of women that I would prefer to date. They're not really here, of any race. I mean, there's some, but there's not. When I'm in I just went surfing. It's a bunch of like 18-year-old kids and younger, and then like 40, 50, 60 plus year old plus older people, right? Yeah, young people leave for schooling and they stay gone, or they also leave for better jobs, economic opportunity. If they grew up here, and then there aren't so many young people who are moving here because, I mean, I did. A lot of them leave. I stayed because I really value the climate, weather, and feeling at home from a demographic perspective. But it's a lot to sacrifice, right? You could commute to a social life in town, but you run into the same problems. It's far. It's a lot of time driving. It eliminates a lot of spontaneity, and it's you run into traffic. So I have friends who, yeah, it's a sacrifice. There's a certain social sacrifice. All that said, there's a reputation for the locals being unfriendly or violent. I just find it the most welcoming place personally. It's a small town vibe, right? You see the same people in the same places. You see people around town. And for 8 years for me being here, I'm pretty established and not really interested in leaving, more just managing the downsides and yeah, making the most of what it is. But again, as you can see, this isn't a place for everyone to live. You see the incredible weather and geography and the ocean, but one, you might not be very welcome, like I was, or even if you are, you're not going to be able to afford it, get a good job, commute's out of control, and then you're not really meeting so many young people if you're young. So I mean, if you're like 60 plus and you want to retire out here, or I mean, I just don't want to make it an invitation for people to move here, because yeah, it also increases the cost of living for the people who are from here, and it makes it even harder potentially. But it is what it is. I moved here and nobody's really mad at me for it, so it all just depends, I think. Anyways, comment would love to hear your experience down below if you relate. If you think there's something that I missed, this is life on West Oahu. So appreciate y'all. Waianae, Nanakuli, West Side, Best Side, yes, a blessa. Man, I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love the sun, man. Oh, I love the weather. It's so good. Okay, appreciate y'all. Peace.